Hey everyone, welcome back to another installment of Beatles News Roundup here on Vinyl Rewind. This is the monthly series where we recap the latest Beatles news stories from the past month, with this episode covering July 2025. And we're going to start with Ringo's birthday. July 7th was his 85th, and he had a big celebration here in LA at Beverly Gardens Park. He was treated to a few performances by others, including Molly Tuttle and Jackson Browne. Paul McCartney was unable to attend, but he was listening over the phone as Ringo revealed, showing his phone, and he has, I love this, he has Paul saved as Mac Macca. The mayor of Beverly Hills was also there and declared July 7th as Ringo Star Day in Beverly Hills. T-Bone Burnett was the host and MC for the event. I was unable to attend. It seems like my invite got lost in the mail. Not sure what's up with that. And some other big news from Ringo, he casually mentioned on his YouTube channel that he's working on yet a new album with T-Bone Burnett. Check it out.
I'm in the studio here now. I'm doing another album with T-Bone. Thank you, Lord. Woo! Yeah, get ready for the next album. Look Up 2. It won't be called that, I don't think.
And in even more Ringo news, a new statue in his honor was unveiled on his birthday in Liverpool. The sculpture depicts his trademark peace sign, and it's very similar to one that's in Beverly Hills. Moving on, we got some more news on the Beatles movies. In an interview with the New York Times, Ringo revealed that he met with director Sam Mendes over the course of 2 days back in April of this year to make some changes in his script. They went line by line and he gave extensive notes, but his biggest objection was how his first marriage was depicted. He said he had a writer, very good writer, great reputation, and he wrote it great, but it had nothing to do with Maureen and I. That's not how we were. I'd say we would never do that. And now he's much happier with the script, but he still wonders how Sam will pull it all off. So do I, Ringo. So do I. But no, seriously, I am cautiously optimistic about these movies. Seriously, don't get me wrong, that was a joke. In other Beatles news, there is a new CEO for Apple Corps. Tom Green will take over in September of this year. No, not that Tom Green. He is the third CEO since the company was founded in 1968. Both Paul, Ringo, as well as Olivia and Sean Ono Lennon are very happy with this decision. No word yet on Tom's direction for the company, but more than likely he will stay the course with these annual big releases. And hopefully we'll see some other exciting things in the pipeline. Previously, he was working in the Harry Potter universe as well as the video game space. In other Beatles news, Billy Joel was on the Bill Maher podcast, and naturally the subject of the Beatles came up, and Billy expressed his opinion on the White Album.
I'm not a big fan of the White Album.
Like I say, not the White Album.
But some people love it. I hear it as a collection of half-assed songs that didn't finish writing because they were either too stoned or they didn't care anymore.
The Penny Lane Beatles Museum in Florida is moving to a larger space in St. Petersburg, which will give the curators more room to display the over 1,600 items in the collection. Penny Lane contains many extremely rare and highly collectible mementos, from signed guitars to strands of the Beatles' hair, from Yellow Submarine paraphernalia to Beatles puppets and pins. The museum was founded in 2017, and it started out as a personal collection of Dr. Robert Entel. If they maintain the same hours at the new location, then it will be open Thursday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Head over to the website to learn more. In Beatles Auction news, a mono First State butcher cover sold for over $12,000. Apparently this was a promo copy sent to a radio station. The album is in near mint shape, so it's easy to see why it sold for so much, and the fact that it's a First State, meaning that it never had the trunk cover pasted over it, makes it even more rare, but still, it's far more common than a First State stereo. I mean, those things can go for a ton of money. In George Harrison news, there is a new photo book in the works. The book will be called The Third Eye and will feature over 250 black and white and color photographs taken by George during his time with the Beatles from 1963 to 1969. The book was curated and compiled by his wife Olivia, and she said, "I want to show people from George's unique photographic perspective during the Beatles' early years, the moments when the whole of your life is ahead of you with unknowable possibilities. His images in The Third Eye capture that spirit." The book will also feature essays written by Olivia as well as 2 other literary writers, along with George's own words sprinkled throughout the book. It's set to be released in the fall of 2026. In other George news, there is a new cover album out now by guitarist Robin Nolan. It's called For the Love of George, and it's a collection of Beatles songs that George wrote but reimagined in the style of Gypsy Jazz. The special part is that it was recorded in George's home studio using some of his own guitars, and it even features a song he never finished before he passed away in 2001. Overall, I think it's a really well done record, and I think you should check it out. In more George news, remember how I reported on his childhood home getting one of those blue plaques? Well, apparently it had an unfortunate side effect for the current residents. Since the plaque was installed last year, the number of visitors has increased to the point of interfering with the locals just trying to go about their day. I mean, some people are respectful, but others are like trying to look through windows, trying to look through open doors. Also, minibuses and taxis are blocking the road. So to combat all of that, they put up a chain to block access to Arnold Grove. That's the street where George's old house is on. Hopefully this helps quell some of that, but I don't know, it might have to be a permanent measure. It's just unfortunate for the people that live there. In Paul news, he's coming back to North America with his Got Back tour this fall. The tour kicks off in Palm Desert on September 29th and wraps up with several nights in Chicago. Pre-sales went live on July 15th, and already tickets are hitting the secondary market, with some fetching prices over $6,000. I think that's crazy. Are you going? Leave me a comment and let me know. In other Paul news, the trailer for the upcoming Spinal Tap sequel is out now, and Paul is in it along with other notable musicians including Questlove and Elton John. Check out the trailer here on YouTube. In John news, remember that documentary about his last decade of life? Well, it's out now, and according to one review I read, it's not very good and it's overly long. Also, the one area I was really interested in was information on his plans for a 1981 tour, and they cover that in the first 11 minutes. So if you are interested in that too, you can just watch that first part and then bow out. Also, apparently it uses a lot of AI generated images of John, and so if that bothers you, you should probably skip this altogether. Also, recently, a large portion of John Peel's record collection went to auction, and several pieces went for big money, including a signed copy of Unfinished Music No. 2, Life with the Lion, signed by John or Yoko, which sold for £10,000. Now, John Peel was a longtime British BBC Radio 1 broadcaster and DJ, working from 1967 until his death in 2004. Since his death, his family kept his collection of over 120,000 albums at his house, but in 2022, they had an expert go through the collection, probably to get some sort of an evaluation. Now, this past auction only represented a small portion of his collection, but man, was it impressive. Now, the success of this auction could trigger the family to sell even more items, so stay tuned. And in Beatles merch news, over on the official web store, there is a bunch of new items, including a Sgt. Pepper's Drum Advent Calendar. Now, the calendar features over $200 worth of collectibles that range from a metal bookmark and keyring, a dish towel, cookie cutters, socks, limited edition pin badges, and a reproduction of the Beatles Christmas card to fans. The calendar is $150 before tax and shipping. There's also a new Beatles-themed Trivia Pursuit game available. It features 100 trivia cards with questions in 6 categories: songs, albums, American tours, movies, history, and on their own. There's also a new guitar pedal out now by Acclaim that recreates their Vox amp sound from the Magical Mystery Tour and the White Album eras. The Go Rocky Go is the third pedal by the company, built to emulate the sound of a particular era from the group. Acclaim based this pedal off a real vintage Vox Conqueror amp, and based on the review by Guitar World, they pulled it off quite well. They gave it an overall rating of 4.5 stars out of 5. The pedal sells for around $350. And this past month in Beatles history, 60 years ago, their second motion picture premiered on July 29th at the London Pavilion Theatre. Help would go on to be released in the United States on the 11th of August. The film grossed $21.1 million at the box office against a budget of $1.5 million. All right, everyone, that will do it for this episode. If you want more Beatles videos, be sure to check out my video on the Beatles Butcher cover if you haven't already. In it, I go into detail on the original intent behind the photo shoot, as well as the subsequent recall by Capitol Records. It's really interesting history. Until then, I want to thank you all so much for watching, but I especially want to thank my members on Patreon, as well as my channel members here on YouTube. They both help to keep this channel growing with their monthly support. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side.